Hello, my name is Kendra Achanwa. This is now the second podcast I've ever created. And again, it's for the ALGC Master's Degree program that I'm currently enrolled in with the University of British Columbia in Canada. Check it out at the link below. I appreciate you tuning in today. Let's get started. In my current course facilitated by Dr. Allison Taylor, my peers and I have had numerous discussions on how the natures of work and learning have been changing in nations around the world as a result of various factors, including a big culprit, globalization. We've also been discussing the implications of these changes, which leads me to the topic of today's podcast, a report on the future directions for work and learning in a country that needs no introduction. But I'm going to introduce it anyways. The United States of America is a superpower of a nation well known for its food, music, movies, sports, and the world's largest economy by nominal gross domestic product. Today, I'll be giving you a very long US history lesson. Just kidding. I will just briefly provide some historical context to set the tone for the remainder of the podcast. Then, I'm going to outline some current issues facing the US labor market with a focus on the implications for immigrants. And finally, I'm going to offer some policy recommendations for the future of work and learning in the US before I wrap everything up. Now, time for that history lesson. Over the course of its colonial past, the U.S. established itself as a nation founded upon ideals such as liberty, equality, and democracy, which helped to acquire the country a reputation as the land of opportunity. The story goes that in the land of opportunity, success in the form of wealth, prosperity, and upward social mobility were achievable for all those who worked hard regardless of their race or socioeconomic status. What was then named the American Dream attracted tens of millions of visitors and migrants in search of a better life to the country's shores, both past and present. In contemporary society, this prominent American ideology has taken on new meanings and connotations due to the influence of major trends pertaining to globalization, including technological, demographic, scientific, governance, and economic interdependence. These global trends have influenced fundamental structural changes to the U.S. economy, including the development of social, economic, and political barriers that threaten the success and opportunities of America's working class, which is composed of both native-born citizens and immigrants. Now let's talk about one of the biggest trends we're currently seeing: major advancements in science and technology all around us every day, and how it's affecting the supply and demand for labor in the U.S. labor market. Previously, offshoring and outsourcing of manufacturing and production was the big cause for concern of labor displacement. Now it's the rise of automation and robots that are replacing individual tasks, jobs, and even entire workforces. In each of these cases, we can see the development of social and economic barriers in the form of labor market polarization. In the present case, broader technological changes have reduced the share of jobs in the middle of the skills distribution while largely sparing the top and bottom, thus creating a shrinking demand for mid-skilled workers in the United States. These labor shortages have been accompanied by skills mismatches, that is, where the skills and trainings of workers seeking employment are misaligned with available jobs. These labor market trends are currently shaping the structure of the U.S. economy and the future of work. Other current short-term trends contributing to this restructuring include decreasing unemployment rates, increases in educational attainment, and high geographic inequality. A bigger, more long-term threat facing the U.S. labor market is a historically low participation rate within the labor force as a result of shifting demographics, including slowing population growth rates, aging of the working population, and declining net migration. The declining net migration rate is not necessarily indicative that the American dream has lost its allure, but rather it has become harder to attain due to, in part, recent immigration policy changes made by the U.S. government that have slowed or stopped the ability of dreamers to immigrate to the country. These policy changes have also played a part in influencing the future of work in America, as immigration is a factor in and of itself that also greatly influences the labor market. For the immigrants that are permitted into the country under the existing system of employment-based immigration, they bring to the US economy skills and experience that employers demand, whether they be STEM workers or farm workers. In light of the current short-term and long-term US labor market trends, in their article, Gullo, Orianes, and Zavodny explore the question, what role can immigration play in bolstering future workforce and economic growth and meeting shifting demand for both high and low-skilled labor? They concluded that immigration can help address the looming mismatch between the skills US employers are seeking and those of workers in the country by filling jobs at the extremes of the education spectrum and in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM fields, all areas which relatively few native-born workers. Although there is evidence that immigration can improve economic outcomes, immigrants in the US still remain as a historically disadvantaged minority population. In addition to the lack of access to job training, post-secondary, and adult education, many Latino and Black immigrant origin children and adults face greater barriers to education access and completion compared to their Asian and white counterparts. There is significant value for immigrants to obtain access to formal or informal education in the form of licenses, certifications, degrees, in order to achieve benefits such as improved workplace learning and productivity, social and economic inclusion, and a better quality of life. The government can play a role in increasing access to high quality and relevant education and training and skills development opportunities, including workplace learning and experience, by encouraging employers to train for employment, which means developing relevant technical skills or adequate reading, writing, and numeracy skills to enable employability. This will help to enable effective participation in the economy and society by all and reduce inequalities and barriers to success and opportunity. Authors Batalov and Fix suggest that federal policies aimed at helping a significant share of these 30 million immigrant origin adults obtain post-secondary credentials can become a critical tool in meeting national and state education goals, addressing current and projected labor shortages, and raising labor productivity. Let's discuss some other policy implications and recommendations as well. In the current times of an increasingly globalized world, the future of work in the US and around the world will largely depend on the policy decisions countries make. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development suggests that moving forward, effective skills policies will be essential if individuals are to minimize the risks and maximize the benefits of changes in the labor market. We've explored some answers to the question, what role can immigration potentially play to improve economic outcomes? And the question that remains is what changes in federal policy would be needed for immigration to play a positive role in the US labor market? In regards to informing US immigration policy as it relates to work and learning, it is argued that the natural course of action is to use existing tools to increase legal forms of both permanent and temporary employment-based immigration. These tools are aimed at increasing net migration rates because immigration can help bolster workforces, fill labor market gaps, and mitigate other negative trends such as declining geographic mobility and aging populations. Additionally, a plan to increase employment-based immigration as a way to spur economic growth could be paired with assistance for these groups, including programs to help them acquire new skills and shift to growing sectors and areas so the benefits of immigrations are shared more equitably. Present adult education and workplace training programs will require a shift in focus toward the development of more transversal skills in order to reskill and upskill immigrants and other working Americans for changes that continue to occur within the labor market. Highly educated immigrants will generate net benefits for the U.S. economy. If the country favors a lasting shift towards more highly educated immigrants, it cannot rely exclusively on existing educational attainment and migration trends without policy changes. Instead, these preferences should be incorporated into immigration laws and procedures. So, in today's podcast, we travel from past to present to future as we explore the topic of work and learning in the US. I outline some of the current issues facing the US labor market, including market polarization, labor displacement as a result of automation, and low labor participation rates. I also discuss the implications these issues have for America's working class, particularly US immigrants, as well as some policy recommendations for moving forward. To conclude this podcast, I think given the economic forces that threaten Americans and others in coming years, any discussion of immigration should occur in the broader context of how to help all American workers, both native and foreign born, adapt successfully to the major technical and demographic shifts that will likely continue to occur. With the right policy changes in regards to work and learning for immigrants in the United States, there will still be room for dreaming in the land of opportunity.